Fine. Good. So let's start with Bacillus anthracis. Right. Imagine a theme or movie over here, like old shepherd with a sheep. Mostly there's a like mythology. Prophet Moses used to go for the taking his sheep for grazing and all. Just have that concept in your mind. And this picture will let you know, remember, recall during your exam each and everything about Bacillus anthracis. So if you just concentrate on this spelling of here, Bacillus anthracis, B anthracis. Uh, Fine. A TH you have in your Bacillus anthracis, which goes for Ascaris thermoprecipitation test. There's one test to check the toxin of Bacillus anthracis. So you just pick up this A and TH from here, and you have one mark question from here. Ascaris thermoprecipitation test. Okay. Then why did I to use this old shepherd? Because this is an old shepherd with a turban, Middle East area. You know these guys with a beard, and old people, they have a string because they don't have much. They keep on remembering the god, uh, like string of beads over there. Then they have this, the Saudi people, you remember that they have the turban and the ring over the turban. This actually this turban is basically a purple color, and also this guy being old needs a stick, and this stick, if you just concentrate, has a bamboo stick appearance with nodes and internodes. And this is a very what do you call, kind Rajnikant kind of stick with a very shape on the top end. That's that letter. You have a typical letter which is called M shape, Medusa head appearance, and McFadden reaction. Fine. And on this turban, you have what do you call, a rope kind of thing on the turban of these people in the Middle East, which you there, that should make you remember polypeptide capsule, which is a very typical when you talk about the capsule of Bacillus anthracis, because most of the bacterial capsule are made up of polysaccharide. And this string of beads, which these people, old people, used to just remember the god, because they are god fearing and they're very close to that. These are nothing but string of pearls appearance that Bacillus anthracis express in cultures. And this guy goes with most of the sheep for the grazing. And if you just go back to again your kindergarten classes, there's a rhyme that goes by this Baba black sheep. Okay, uh, BA is on the bread agar, again black color, black color eschar. Again, this is basically black color eschar, Bacillus anthracis. Then you have the biological warfare weapon. Then black is black eschar over here. Uh, then you have the sheep. Sheep is a zoonotic. Basically, Bacillus anthracis is a zoonotic disorder. Basically, Bacillus anthracis is a zoonotic disorder. And sheep, if you just remember, gives us three things. Baba black sheep, have you an ill? What does it give? It gives us sheep. It gives us wool. It gives us flesh. So it gives us the skin. The skin of the sheep causes Hyde-Porter's disease that leads to malignant pustule. The black eschar which I was talking about. This anthrax sheep meat, if anybody consumes partly cooked or raw, will end up with intestinal anthrax. And the wool of the sheep that comes to the factory are sorted out. So wool sorters disease, and we live with pulmonary anthrax. Okay. This people, this old person, the shepherds, because they go all the way right from morning, they come back evening, they don't have anything. So during the travel, they have a kind of bowl so that they keep on begging for alms. So that's basically, it's a plate, Plate, but remember that plate to be pronounced as Plet, plate for the mnemonic sake. Nothing but it's a selective media for Bacillus anthracis. Polymyxin, lysozyme, EDTA, thallus acetate agar. This is a selective media. And this mnemonic also plays very good dual role for remembering. P for protective antigen that takes lethal antigen and edema toxin inside. So lethal toxin does the damage, LE. T toxin produces edema around the HR. So that should really bring a smile on your face. Like now it's time to be serious after a lot of mnemonics and movies and themes and all. But actually, this is also very kidding. Actually, we are talking about not that be serious, but we're talking about a person who has consumed Chinese fast food, and he lands up with vomitings, diarrhea, and all, emetic toxin. Again, this topic has already been discussed. 1 to 6 hours incubation, Chinese fast food, repeated reheated rice will should clinch your diagnosis that it is Bacillus cereus. And another, so we have finished the gram-positive organism, that is Bacillus cereus and Corynebacterium diphtheria. Good, happy. Now let's move to the gram-positive, another but anaerobic organism, that is Clostridium botulinum. So we'll be covering Clostridium botulinum, Perfringens, tetany, and difficile one by one. So this picture should let you know that we are talking about which organism? Anyone? consumption of crude honey, and if the toxin present, very good, botulinum, very good, appreciated. Clostridium botulinum, botulinum toxin, which also not only causes food poisoning, but also causes the different routes are through trauma, and also in infants, infant botulism, foodborne botulism, and traumatic botulism. So basically, whatever might be the route, the mechanism of action is same. There's neurotransmitters that are released. Toxin blocks the release of ACH, acetylcholine, from vesicle, and they block, therefore lead to flaccid paralysis. They lead to flaccid paralysis at the motor end plate, that is synaptic junction. So Clostridium botulinum inhibits the release of acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction, leading to flaccid paralysis, leading to floppy baby syndrome in children. Yeah, very good, important. Please take out your photos and pics, or I think Nigam will share with later on. Very, very important slide. The source of food and what are the causative agent. And please remember, this is a very good chart prepared from almost all standard books. Fine. This picture should hint which diagnosis?
Tetanus.
Tetanus.
I'll give you clues. Lockjaw, trismus, orbicularis oris, gram-positive cocci, drumstick appearance. This is what we call opisthotonus. We are talking about Clostridium tetani. Very good. Yeah, no issues, no problem. So at the neuromuscular junction, synaptic junction, you have excitatory transmitter and you have the inhibitor transmitter, which is released. And this tetanospasmin toxin that is released by the tetany will go and inhibit the inhibitory neuron. Therefore, the excitatory neurotransmitter gets overexcited because this leads spastic paralysis, which is opposite of botulinum. So again, I repeat, it inhibits the inhibitory neuron, GABA and glycine, causing exaggerated excitatory transmitter release. Now, which you have another picture that shows you gas gangrene with a gram-positive bacilli with subterminal spores. It also causes gastroenteritis. It also causes necrotizing fasciitis. Which organism are we talking about? Perfringens. Very good. No problem. No issues. Major toxin lecithinase. Yeah. So these are some pictures and some concept-oriented topics. This is how your preparation should be. If you are thorough with 2-3 grand revisions, if you are rectifying your mistakes, learning by mistakes, you are going to be one of the top 3 candidates. Let me exam. Believe me, these are the secrets. We have gone through the interviews of all those Marrows or Prep Ladders or All India Topper or any coaching centers, AIMS, JIPMER, whatever exam. These are the secrets of these guys. They don't study each and everything. They don't mug up everything. Though they study first, but during the second, third, fourth revision, they have this kind of pictures, this kind of strategy ahead of them. No issues. So we are in the right track. So Clostridium perfringens, the mnemonic is GFN. Gas gangrene, the food poisoning, that is gastroenteritis, and the necrotizing fasciitis, flesh-eating bacteria. But it produces, you might have heard about you heard about alpha hemolysis, beta hemolysis, gamma hemolysis. Now this produces complete hemolysis. It produces target hemolysis. Okay, target, like a gunshot injury. So complete hemolysis by theta toxin and partial hemolysis by alpha toxin, alpha hemolysis. So target hemolysis produced by Clostridium perfringens. This is a reverse CAM test. CAM test is produced by Staph aureus and group B streptococci. Whereas reverse CAM test here, when you use Clostridium perfringens with Streptococcus agalactiaceae, it becomes reverse CAM test. This picture is demonstrating Stromy clot fermentation, where milk is used and casein is produced, and effervescence kind of production is occurs because of anaerobic reaction. And this is another very important concept, picture based and not to learn, that is called legless reaction, just to exhibit whether the organism is producing the if you just divide the plate into 2 halves and one you give toxin, one you do not give antitoxin. The plate where you have given antitoxin, there is no opalescence because of neutralization of the toxin that has occurred. It's called legless reaction because it is coded. Another species of Clostridium, which species is this? Pseudomembranous colitis, intake, overuse, misuse of antibiotics. Toxin A, toxin B is responsible. You land up with diarrhea. It's also called antibiotic associated diarrhea. Is it so difficult to answer? Flu.
Clostridium difficile.
Very good. Clostridium difficile. It is difficult to culture. It is difficult to culture. That's the reason why it's called Clostridium difficile. Fine. Metronidazole is a drug of choice. If metronidazole doesn't acting, then you have vancomycin. Fidaxomicin, please write down. Fidaxomicin is the latest drug that is given. Actually, not latest. I mean, 5-6 years back. But the latest treatment for Clostridium difficile is fecal transplant. You might have heard about heart transplant, eye transplant, brain transplant, all these things. But fecal transplantation, that is very successful in US. That's is one of the mode of treatment that is being followed these days. Okay, where are we now? Right, good. Pseudomembranous colitis. Don't get confused. Pseudomembranous colitis is produced by Clostridium difficile. Pseudomembrane is produced by Corynebacterium diphtheriae. Okay, another important organism. Tuberculosis. Any patient complaining with cough, hemoptysis, fever, night sweats, weight loss, pleuritic chest pain, malaise, suspect TB in India. Right. Let me roll down this first down. Then I will just try to explain you the easiest part. Yes, the best initial test for a patient to complain these complaints is chest X-ray. Just make yourself very clear with this concept. The best initial test that you would run down in a patient complaining with this is chest X-ray. If patient is compatible with TB, I mean you have fibrosis, necrosis, or cavity lesion, then you should go for sputum. Then culture it. If sputum microscopy is done, which acts as a surrogate marker for infectivity, 2 samples should be processed. Earlier 3 samples, now 2 days, 2 samples, that is spot and early morning samples. If 2 samples are negative, then consider it as negative. But if sputum is positive, then you should go for culture. And culture is done by the selective media, Lowenstein Jensen media. I'm not going to details of egg-based media, potato-based media and all, because it's a fast track and exam-oriented question. So conventional method, LJ medium, but if you don't, but the latest method these days where report is given in 90 minutes is Gene Expert or CBNAT. Okay. The another thing I would like to talk from microbiology point of view is people who are exposed or at high risk, asymptomatic people, you should do a Mantoux test. Okay. 10 mm or more than 10 mm is considered as positive. Induration and erythema. Induration is more important. That is 0.1 ml of purified protein derivative is given on the flexor aspect of the forearm. Okay. Then you should do an AFB culture. Acid fast stain, that is also called Zn stain. The other stain that is used is quinone stain, cold stain, and a fluorescent stain. Fluorescent stain is having very good sensitivity compared to Zn stain, and you just have to need an LED microscope for it. I'm not going to touch upon the pharmacology aspects. Fine. Virulence factors, which is again commonly asked in very standard DNB or central examinations, are the virulence factors of TB, that is CAT gene, which codes for oxidase and catalase. Any mutation in CAT gene leads to resistance to isoniazide, because CAT gene is one that helps actually isoniazide to convert into the active drug. Then you have the sulfatides, which inhibits the phagosome lysosome fusion, which is a very good mechanism where MTB escapes phagocytosis and survives. Then you have the COD factor, very important. The chemical nature is trehalose dimethylate. Then you have the VAX-D. Then finally, very minor virulence factor is tubercle protein. Guys, you just have to know the names, nothing more than that. Don't go into the concept. Yeah. Mycobacterium leprae, you have 2 reactions, type 1 lepra reaction, type 2 lepra reaction. Type 1, just write, don't get your mind, break your heads to the walls. Just write down 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can just write down this way also. 1. And see, the product of means is equal to product of extremes. So 1 goes for 4. You see that? You see that? You see that? You see that? Good. 1 goes for 4. This is one way of remembering it. Another way of remembering is just write Roman number 1 and just write like this. That becomes 4. How to remember? Then write 2 Roman number. Then write 1 line with this. Then 2 goes with 3. Just let me go to the next slide. So type 2 lepra reactions. Type 2 lepra reactions are type 3 hypersensitivity. So that's how you make the toughest subject easy. That's what you remember, nothing more than that. Don't go into details. We have to pass, we have to get marks. And microbiology, I don't know, would be the first and last choice for you in your life. Fine. Right. Another thing I would like to help you out in remembering is lepromin test. It's a type 4 lepromin. Yes, all intradermal tests are late. They take 48 hours. There are type 4 hypersensitivity, except Cassini's test, which is done in hydrated fluid Echinococcus granularis, which is type 1. Good. Now come back to lepromin test. Type 4 hypersensitivity, early reaction of Fernandez and late reaction of Mendoza. What I would like to do is, early I would like to write first reaction. First F. Fernandez is F. So you just have to remember these words, these letters. You have to be very fancy and fantastic with this. Quick and fast. Fast and furious. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 8. So just remember this also, like that. Early reaction. First Fernandez, late Mitsuda. Okay. I'm not going to teach you all other things because that's no point. Lepra, right. I just put this slide for you to know that it's obligate intracellular parasite, Mycobacterium lepra, everybody knows, and it prefers the cooler parts of the parts. Just don't have to remember that. Just on the AC, sit in AC. Just tell me what are the parts in your body that gets cool fast. Exactly, tip of the nose, ear lobules, or tip of your fingers. So these are the parts where MTB, M. leprae tries to survive. Good, it cannot be cultured. Everybody knows that. Everybody's teaching since long time. And armadillos, what do you call those? Chipmunks, loris, monkey, green loris, monkeys, all. These are the chimpanzees. These are the organisms where you can culture them. Another thing I would like you to remember is, yeah, this table is very, very important. And I don't know, Dr. Malcolm Pinto is one of the speaker. I have heard his lecture on leprosy. Awesome. I got fascinated. Mind blowing. If you have this, please go back again, read that or listen to his lecture. How to differentiate tuberculosis from lepromatous? Many of the questions actually are asked on this table, like which is strong, which is weak. Lepromatous actually is basically a broad spectrum. You start from tuberculosis, borderline tuberculosis, then you have the tuberculosis, then you have borderline lepromatous, then you have the lepromatous leprosy. Basically, they are Joplin's classification, then you have the Dharmendra classification, WHO classification. This is a topic where everybody touches, like dermatology people and the micro and the SPM people and all. So please go back. You have a lot of time to just go back the table. It's worth going through the table there. Atypical mycobacteria, I'm not going to talk much about that. There are 4 groups, atypical, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, based on the pigment production in presence of light and or not, and rate of growth. Yeah. Group 1, photochromogens, produce pigment in presence of light. Photo, chromo, pigment, photo, light. You just have to remember the Mask, the movie Mask. What was the hero's name? I don't remember. Jim Carrey? Yeah. Remember the movie Mask. M, marinum. Yeah, the name marinum itself should give you a clue, something to do with the water, marinum. Okay, that means to say swimming pool granuloma, fish tank. Again, exam-oriented question, very important. I yield. Yeah, M in Mask goes for marinum, which causes fish tank granuloma or swimming pool granuloma. And this is not much important. This is just to complete the mnemonic. Asiaticum simiae. Yeah, this is important. Kansasi, Mycobacterium kansasi causes chronic pulmonary disease in old people. Group 2, 1 was photo. Second is opposite, scoto. Produce pigment in presence of light is photo. Produce pigment in absence of light is scoto. Scoto, what do you call that? Scotolopia in ophthalmology. Scotogens, scoto, all something to do with nyctalopias, night visions and all. Yeah, right. What do you have here? You have one species which you have to remember. Scrophalaceum. Scrofola in Latin means large swelling, cervical lymphadenopathies. Fine. Then what I would like to know, yeah, Gordonate, tap water. Yeah, let's go to see. Though this is a slide, but exam point of view, I'm concentrating on with the blue points over there. Group 3, non-photochromogens do not produce pigment. So photo produce pigment in light. Scoto doesn't produce pigment in dark. Third, non-photo do not produce pigment at all. Fine. So group 3, just remember this MAC, MAC. Now why this is important? Because it is something to do with AIDS, pulmonary disease, especially in AIDS. Another important species in this is Mycobacterium avium, intracellular. This is called battery bacillus. Battery is the name of the place in US. It was called. And another important is Mycobacterium ulceris, exam oriented. Put a star mark here. It causes Buruli ulcer. Then you have the rapid growers. Lastly, rapid growers. Wrap up the session fast. I mean, atypical microbiota. You have the photochromosomes, non-photo, then the rapid growers. It produces post-injection abscess or trauma abscess. You have 2 species here, very important, Chelonia and Fortutium. They cause pulmonary lesions. And it is very difficult for you to rule out whether it's TB or atypical TB. That's the reason why you have to remember that. Paratuberculosis, it causes John's disease. exam oriented. Exception, no? They know that nobody touches that. You get bored by the time something more creeps up and you land up and you doubt whether your neurons are herniating here or not. If that is a condition, think that would be a question for you in the exam. Another thing last is in Mycobacterium vaccae is an immunomodulator. This again is an exam oriented question. You have another, I think, species in Corynebacterium also. Corynebacterium pseudotuberculosis that also acts as immunomodulator. So these are the things which you have to have this. Yeah. Typical classic feature of, I think we have finished the entire gram-positive group, gram-positive cocci, gram-positive bacilli in toto, aerobic, anaerobic. What do you call gram-negative Enterobacteriaceae, this is a very good picture of Salmonella. I would like every student to just go back leisurely, because any of this Nigam is going to share with you, all of you. At the end of, and there's a small mnemonic here, BASU, BASU, at the end of first week, second week, third week, and fourth week. And these are the clinical features. And typical step ladder pyrexia is found. Everybody knows that the contaminated food and water, the dose has to be 10 to the power of 9. And very important is this selective agar for Salmonella. You have a Wilson blade. Typical, what do you call that? Black color colonies are produced. It's a green color media where black color colonies are produced. Black because of the reduction of sulfide to sulfide. IDE to IDE. ID sulfide to I. Fine. And here you also have black color, blue color colonies with black center. Now this is very, very important. The very reason I use this picture over here, again this picture will come in Shigella also, to differentiate Salmonella from Shigella, because Salmonella also causes diarrhea followed by dysentery might be. Shigella causes dysentery. Stool is a sample and you don't know, just inoculate in the media, that is especially XLD media. And if you have colonies with black center because of production of H2, it is Salmonella. And if you have colonies without black center, it is Shigella. Similarly, in Hecto and enteric agar, which is commonly in US area there, you have black center, it is Salmonella because production of H2S. So, like Pseudomonas aeruginus, another thing. Yeah, strongly oxidase positive. Lot of fancy terms are there. And just remember, Pseudomonas actually is a big contaminant, nasty organism, but it produces, especially immunocompromised people, in people who are having intracatheters. As I already told, like epidermidis is produced biofilms around the prosthetic implants and all. Grape-like odor, it produces pigment. Very important slide, very good slide. Please take out some time, go through this. Come back to me if you have any doubts. It produces hot top folliculitis. It produces what you call otitis externum in diabetic people, especially. It produces what you call osteomyelitis. It produces ecthyma gangrenosum. UTI in catheter, Proteus and Pseudomonas produces UTI in catheter patients. Osteomyelitis in diabetic people. Drug of choice are basically like piptaz, carbapenicillin, piperacillin, ticarcillin. These are the drugs. Anti-Pseudomonas penicillin especially. Fine. Another image-based questions. Gram-positive bacilli with filamentous, which affects your cervix, your abdomen, your pelvic. Which organism are you talking about? Sundry appearance, molar tooth appearance. Very good. Actinomycosis, which produces sulfur granules. So this is another important area. Nocardia again, which is also same picture, but partially acid fast. That is not partially acid fast. That will really help you out to differentiate. And these are the lesions. Sporotrichoid lesions. That's how it is. Don't get confused with sporotrichosis of fungus, because the linear fashion of distribution, as you can see over here, don't get confused with your fungus sporotrichoid. That's the reason why the same pattern is there, sporotrichoid nocardiosis. So this is a very good differentiation table to differentiate your actinomycosis from nocardia. Worth spending some time over here. Another organism, my favorite, Listeria monocytogenes. It exhibits and has a lot of characters, grows in cold environment, mother to child transmission, neonatal meningitis, and also meningitis in adults. And as you can see, these are the different food sources. Uncooked, raw. As I said, it grows in cold, and you don't cook or boil or roast it or heat it, directly consume it, you get the infection. Tumbling motility, unpasteurized milk. Fine. The child who's born to mother also will get granulomatum infantis septicum. Actually, these are all 99% the slides which I'm focusing and discussing with you. Till now, whatever exams have been asked, 90 to 100% questions have been asked from this. Then you have the comma-shaped microaerophilic bacteria group along other than Vibrio cholera. You have Campylobacter jejuni and the Helicobacter pylori. Please go through. I just put some blue lines where you have to concentrate. What's this so special? Gull wings appearance it grows at 42 degrees centigrade on Skirros agar. Third, microaerophilic Campylobacter jejuni. Three important characters. Another important Guillain-Barré syndrome complication of Campylobacter jejuni, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Helicobacter pylori, everybody knows about that. They touch upon in your pathology or physiology on the surgery. Strongly urease positive, microaerophilic. It produces urease, survives by maintaining the acid pH of the stomach, converting into alkaline. And then you have this another favorite organism of, what do you think is this organism? It produces a cut glass iridescent colonies, dark background. It is present in these water supplies, air humidifiers, air conditions. Human to human transmission is not there. It is pleomorphic, gram-negative, not stain, difficult. You use special stain like Vasen stain to stain along with, other than this organism, Pasteurella, all these things. So which organism are we talking about? Legionella, good. Yeah, be confident, no problem. Please do mistakes so that you rectify them. Legionella pneumophila is the organism we are talking about. So, smokers more than 55 degrees centigrade. Buffered charcoal yeast extract was what we were talking about, and uses cysteine as growth factor. Please touch upon this also. Yeah, this, anyone? Which organism is this? Thin mucoid discharge.
Gardnerella vagina.
Gardnerella vaginalis, which is one of the most common organism when you talk about Bacillus vaginosis in common, and you do a whiff test using a drops of KOH. If ever sense the whiff, special fishy smell will come. So that is Gardnerella vaginalis. Vibrio cholera, yes, a big topic. Please do worth going through that before going to exam. Shooting star motility. Then you have 0139, which is more recent strain common. Then you have this. This is another question that is asked. Where is that? Yeah, ribosylation of G stimulatory alpha protein and toxin co-regulated pili. Please, the most toughest part. This would be the questions that you can expect. Yes, you also have. I don't have to teach you that it causes rice watery diarrhea, rice watery stools, and all. Everybody knows about that. And this toxin of Vibrio cholera resembles that labile toxin of enterotoxinic E. coli. Halophobic vibrios, which are salt-loving. You have three, in fact, Alginolyticus, Vulnificus, and Parameloticus. Whatever might be the vibrios, the consumption actually marine food, marine raw seafood and all. So that's thing. ORS treatment. Yeah, the Enterobacteriaceae. This is another important slide which will really help you out. But most of the people don't want to go back when preparing for All India or NEET. No, go back again, open the Anantanarayan or Apurva, whatever it is. No, I can't do that. It's a real nightmare. Enough. So this slide will really help you out. I mean, in fact, all these slides. Lactose fermenter, non-lactose fermenter. Lactose fermenter, only mostly two important. E. coli, Klebsiella, which produces pink. Non-lactose fermenter, please remember as this, non-motile, non-H2S. As already told you, I don't know whether we heard my Shigella lecture. Shigella is a very shy. It is non-motile, non-H2S, non-lactose fermenter. It is catalase negative. Other than dysentery, it is catalase negative, oxidase negative, indole negative. So it's very shy. Other than Shigella, Yersinia. So non-motile, non-H2S is Yersinia, and motile and H2S is Proteus and Salmonella. Another important slide. Yeah, coming to the Nigam, how much time we have?
More 6 minutes, sir.
No problem. I'll wrap it up till then, inshallah.
I think Ayesha is having some doubt. She has raised hand. Ayesha, do you have any doubt? Okay, maybe by mistake she raised hand.
No issues. No issues. No issues. E. coli, you have 5 species, strains of E. coli. Just remember that Hindi word for husband, Pati, P-A-T-H-I, as you can see over here. P-A-T-H-I, Hindi word for husband, Pati, pathogenic, aggregative, toxigenic, hemorrhagic, invasive. Invasive is something, invasive and hemorrhagic, they're similar in action with Shigella. Toxigenic action, as I told, with Vibrio cholera. Aggregative is something persistent, most common persistent diarrhea. Pathogenic is most common in pediatric age group and infant age group. Hemorrhagic, all H hamburger, H hemolytic uremic syndrome, hemorrhagic colitis, O157, H7. That's the strain that causes diarrhea. Yersinia pistis is causes black death, bipolar staining. The other organism, Haemophilus ducreyi, stuff like that. It also cannot be cultured because they are hazardous. Safety pin appearance, bipolar staining, other than Haemophilus ducreyi, Yersinia, pseudotuberculosis, your Klebsiella granulomatis. All these organisms show bipolar staining. Yeah. Rats, rat flea, envelope F1 antigen. Virulence factors are very important here in exams. These are the things they'll ask. Highly contagious biowarfare weapon. Enterocolitica, it causes, why is very important? Because pseudoappendicitis, one of the question asked in exam. Pseudoappendicitis, Yersinia pseudotuberculosis. Also pseudotuberculosis, yeah, pseudoappendicitis is caused by which organism? Enterocolitica. Again, this is another organism other than your Listeria monocytogenes that grows at 25 degrees centigrade. Even your leptospires, they also grow at 25 degrees centigrade. Cold growth. Fine. Pseudotuber enterocolitica. Enteron, that means unpasteurized milk, pork, same way like your Listeria. Shigella, already I talked about that. Very shy. And this is another important slide you worth listening. Most common cause of shigellosis, most widespread, Shigella soni. Just remember Soni di Kudi, because Punjab, sorry, again, all characters, nothing to do with in real life. Soni di Kudi is something like Punjab girls, very famous worldwide, just for the answer for the exam. Don't have to do anything with that. In India, most common cause, flexneri. Indian people are very flexible. Anywhere they can live, survive. Most severe form, Shigella dysentery type 1. Now, this is the deoxycholate agar, as told you. Black center is Salmonella, without black is Shigella. Without black is Shigella, with black center is Salmonella. Then another, if you see any picture like this with nice red, brick red pigment, then they are talking about Serratia marcescens. Serratia marcescens, which causes catheter-associated bacteremia, UTI infection. Just keep this in your mind. This is, or it could be an exam for you in pigmented bacteria other than Staph and Pseudomonas. Serratia marcescens causing UTI, wound infections. Produces bright red color pigment because of prodigiosis. This organism is something is swarming, strong user positive, is Proteus. Okay, the another two important things you have to remember in Proteus is Dines phenomena, where you have to see whether the strains are of common type. Then you don't have stones, anytime stones form because of urease present in that, but you have only staghorn stones because of urease production and swarming motility. This is an, I think we should stop and we should let the, because we have 3 seasons over here. Nigam, I would take the leisure so that I can open it, the session for discussion and interaction and questions.
Okay, sir. Next session will be on which date you can say, sir?
You can fix the date and let the students and me know, then I can come back with that. I have the slides prepared for them.
Okay, sir.
So how much time we have, Nigam? Sorry, how much time we have?
2 minutes, sir.
Yeah, students, I have 2 minutes for you. Anyhow, you have my mail ID and phone number, and Nigam is with us. I will just keep myself silent and just wait questions or interaction from your side.
Okay, sir. I will unmute everyone. If anyone is having doubt, can ask to sir. If anyone is having doubt, can ask to sir, because we are having only 2 minutes. And also, I'll be informing you all about the next session. That is part 2 of this session. And this session I will be uploading in M4PG in the store tab. You can visit m4pg.com, and under store you can find this lecture. You can download, ask to sir anytime. You are having sir's email ID. Also, sir is present in M4PG Telegram group. You can ask to sir. If anyone is having doubt, can ask now also.
Excuse me, sir.
Sir, Ikra is having doubt, I think. Yes, ask. Though I think someone asked the doubt just now.
Yeah, sir, what are all the organisms causing an eschar? You gave out a list, but I couldn't catch all of them.
Caused by Orencia shushugamushi, 1. 2.
Okay.
Ecthymia gangreosum. is a condition caused by Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Number one is strep typhus caused by Orencia shusugamushi. Number 2 is ecthyma gangrenosum caused by Pseudomonas aeruginosa. 3 is eschar produced by Yersinia pestis. Yersinia pestis. 4 is eschar produced by Bacillus anthracis.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I think no one is having doubts, sir. So I think we should end this session.
Thank you, Nigam. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, dear students, for your patience.
Thank you for your time, sir, for taking the session. And those who have missed these lectures or want to see this